Hi guys, it's Alec here. Today we're going to focus on MyVAT and its purpose and the way, and actually the reports that are available for you to see and how you can connect it into your Pastel database. All right, so let's just quickly have a look. Firstly, this is the landing page of the MyVAT app. I'm just going to roll this up slightly, just say show tabs only. So you can see what's in it. So firstly, you've got your list of reports that you can click through. These are all hyperlinks that can go through to your reports. It's going to give you a VAT recon and a trial balance. And then it's going to give you an E-type by tax type, an income statement by VAT type, and then a balance sheet by VAT type. And then lastly, it's going to give you a customer and supplier overview as to what you've claimed and obviously what you've spent or what they've spent with you. This little overview here just basically gives you an overview of what has been system generated in your Pastel. Now, this is very important. What does system generated mean? It's those entries in your VAT control account, usually account number 95000, that has the reference ZContras in it, because that's an automated transaction that's triggered by some kind of E-type that you've used, right? So let me just show you when I go over into a Pastel environment in this specific demo database. If we go and view our trial balance over here and we say, just show me my trial balance, I'm going to do open batches, just show it until now. We're going to see there's the 9500 account, which is 3.1 million in credit. But if you go into it, you'll see there are just millions of these Z Contras that's going to pop up. And that's very difficult to know which specific sales tax invoice each one relates to. And that's the purpose of MyVAT. It takes the entries that are system generated and it goes and places it next to the actual net entry that triggered that transaction. Right. So let me show you how that works. Firstly, it's telling me that there are system generated transactions with the word ZContras in the reference of 9.6 million. It was able to recalculate to the cent every single transaction and allocate it back to the net transaction. So what does that look like? So let's go here to the VAT recon and trial balance and see what can we see. So firstly, once this screen visualizes, you'll see that the top part here gives you insight to your VAT control account, right? So that's the 9500. And there you'll just see, as I showed you in Pastel, that is the 3.1 million Rand credit that we just said. So we're saying that there's a net credit on this account of 3.1 million. Then there are 9.6 million Rand worth of of system generated transactions in there, meaning transactions that were processed to the control account with the reference ZContras, something that was automatically processed. What does manually posted mean? Well, these are the manually posted transactions, and they are usually only your VAT payments, or if you have VAT refunds, that would be the refunds coming through from your cash book. So that's where you physically tell the cash book, post to account number 9500. If you think about it, if you ever raise an invoice, you do not have to tell it to go and credit to 9500. It has been set up in your setup as a control account. It automatically posts there. Only when you do a payment to SARS, then you actually have to say this is a VAT payment and you have to go and debit the 9500 account. So this is those cash book entries, right? So 3.1 million. And what does it do? Well, it basically takes, so here at the bottom, this is the pivot of the control account, and this is a pivot of your trial balance. So this gives you a trial balance, and it's luckily not a big trial balance, so I'll be able to fit it onto one screen. It says, this is my trial balance with all my accounts to the left, my descriptions, this is my main account description, and this is my sub-account description. And basically, so you'll see here, for instance, these two are linked to the 61000000 main account. So that's why it's got, that's why I don't have the main account, but there's a different description here on this sub account. Okay. But anyway, so this first column over here in your pivot is the trial balance total. So that would match up to your trial balance, which sits over here. So let's just close this. I drill down there and you'll see that this matches up to these entries over here. And the only difference is, even though that's 96 million over here, just know your income statement is not something that truly rolls over. It is actually just sits in your ledger transaction database underneath each other. The concept of an opening balance and rolling over to your retained earnings is actually an accounting principle. But that doesn't matter. It's the same thing. I'll show you. So it's telling me here, okay, so here are my trial balance values that balances to zero of every single account. And it's giving me this over the course of the database. So it's giving me for last year up to now. So we actually in the 13th period as we stand now for the current financial year. And then the next one tells me, okay, based on these trial balance numbers, these are the amounts that you had VAT on, either raised it like in sales, or that you claimed it if it was some kind of expense like this electricity line over here. Okay. And then it tells you the next line, which amounts had zero VAT on it. Okay. Also a very important line because we often miss our expenses when we do our input claims. And this is the column that you would ultimately see that on. And this says journals with zero VAT. So why would it be so big in cost of sales? Because this is an inventory environment, and an inventory environment automatically triggers a cost of sale when we make a sale. And that's why we actually did the claim when we did it and we bought the inventory in. So you'll see there's a massive claim here. But the journal obviously would be related. It would go out here. That's why it's in credit. When you sell, it would trigger a credit to your inventory control account and a debit to your cost of sales. So these two should match up very closely to this number over here, which you can see it's very close. Let's just add that one and then it's exact 32,675, 32,675. Okay, so then the next column is the important one. It says, what VAT did I claim or did I raise? Linked to the net account, the net TB. So you'll see if you go down to your VAT, there's nothing in this line because you didn't claim VAT against the VAT account. You claimed the VAT against some kind of other triggering transaction, the original transaction. But you can see that the total now spread across this entire trial balance balances back to the entire ZContras amount over here, 9618. And it's gone and it says, this is how this was claimed and raised across your trial balance. And if you go down, that one balances. So you can see now 15 million worth of VAT was raised against sales, 28,000 was claimed against electricity and water, 46 against rent paid, etc., etc. Okay. Now, the nice thing is also we've got some deeper levels that's enriched data right here in your trial balance. You'll see there's a little plus sign here. If I go and open this, it will actually show me the customers that I actually raised this against and ultimately what was invoiced to each of them and how much VAT was then raised. And it does a calculation here for me. It says, well, 15% across all these customers. So I can easily see if there's maybe some kind of a anomaly where I accidentally missed a line or something. And then you can also see here under your inventory, for instance, where I purchased, this would also show me my suppliers. These are the suppliers that I used. You can see this 32 million line has the reference of an entity name blank. The reason for that is because that's an auto transaction that triggers a credit to my inventory control account when I make a sale, so that there's no supplier linked to that because it's actually linked to your sale, just your sale. But these are the purchases, and there you can see I made purchases and it's showing me how much I purchased and how much I claimed from each of these suppliers. Okay, so let's just quickly roll that up again. You can also then say, but okay, now I want to submit, for instance, and I want to go and do a submission for, let's say, the month of February. So I can just say then, just call up February. That tells me 3.1 million in the month of February was raised as a net credit against my control account. This is the way that it was processed in that month. And that obviously becomes my VAT return. You can see what e-types I used. I used sales, purchases, inventory, journal, which obviously would be that 0 because it's the sales linked journal. And then there's some cash book. So I can go through it and quickly see what cash book payments did I actually process, and how did that actually impact my trial balance, and what VATs did I claim. You can see bank charges. Okay, great. I went and I actually claimed all of my VAT on my bank charges, 15 Rand, which obviously is 15%, and that is the net amount. Nothing was claimed on interest paid. Perfect. Okay. Motor vehicle expenses. Okay. What type of expenses? Well, just that's obviously through the cash book module, so it wouldn't give you any entity name over here. But you can now think, okay, well, I now need to know if that is claimable, and then you can drill on it. You can just double click on the value. That'll bring up a drill down, and that drill down will tell me, it was for fuel. Okay, no, perfect. Fuel, I cannot claim. All right. It's going to go back there. It's going to give me this little warning message just to say you're going back into another sheet. You're actually going back into MyVAT. It's not a security warning, really. It's just a normal security protocol of VBA. Right. So if I then go over to sales, I can see, well, these was my sales impact. Always quite cool to see how things impacted your trial balance. Obviously, when you do sales, sales is credited, customer control account is debited with your gross value, and then VAT is credited with your VAT component. Purchases, similar. All of these accounts were affected, but look at this, always balancing back to 0. I just love it. Anyway, so let's have a look as to what we can now see. So you can now see you can submit per period. Then you can also do something like a control, a overview of where did you stand, let's say at the end of Jan. If I go up to there, you can see everything was submitted, but I still somehow I missed 299,000 Rand worth of VAT, meaning that somehow there's more VAT credits in here than payments. So you can see there's a 6164, but there's a 6464. So 300,000 Rand is missed. Now you can see kind of like if you follow this. So this is a monthly payment environment that we follow in this demo database. But if you now go and you say, I'm just going to clear that filter. Let's say, for instance, 24 November, that was my system generated transactions, 1.470 million. How much would I have paid? I would have paid that system generated ZContras in December. So let's check what we paid. That obviously needs to now go into what we processed through our cash book. Let's see if that happened. 1.470. So that means, well, I actually processed 1.4 million. And I just want to show you guys, this is very interesting. If I double click here, you'll see that I'm going to get a lot of transactions, all of them with the word ZContras in this reference. And if I add up my amount column there, you're going to see that adds up 516 rows, 1.4 million. Whilst if I go to the next period and I click here, this will give me one single entry there, which just says payment. And this was actually not the word ZContras. This is where I paid my VAT payment to tax authority. That's what we kind of like referenced it here in our description, and even gave us that little description. That's obviously what we put into our cash book. Right. So that being said, you can obviously do a full reconciliation. And if I had to reconcile this, for instance, I can do something like the following. I can drill on this number, 299,000. It's going to give me all the transactions that went into my control account. And let's see how many rows I got, 5,000 rows of data. It's obviously very fast as well, the way that it gives you data back, which is not always the same if you have to do an export directly out of your Pastel system. Now I'm going to do a pivot here. So we got plenty of fields that are enriched fields. I think there's over 100 fields here that you can use in your pivot. Okay, so let's go and quickly do an insert pivot. There we go. And what we're going to do now, we're going to say, okay, I want to see my E-type. Okay, what does the E-type give me? Well, that's the type of processing. Okay, then I want to see something called ZContras. We've got a field here called, yes, we've got a ZContras description. So I'm going to put that right over there. It's going to give me, yes, there's a ZContras description. No, there's not a ZContras description. So that means these are manually posted by myself. These are system generated Right, now I'm going to put in my word amount. Okay, over there, that's going to give me the full overview of my 9500 account, which is obviously that 2.9 million. But it still doesn't help me as to where did I miss that 299,000? Where did I underpay, obviously, in this case? And now we're going to go to calendar slicer. So this thing is going to be great. So check here. I'm going to put this into my columns. That's going to process it out for me. Now you can see what we've got here is we did a debit in our first month. Then we did a credit. So those two together, 65,000, that was paid off. There we go. Okay. So let's rather go into the top. 65,000, that's a zero. Next period, 49, but I paid nothing. So that was obviously a late payment. Those two together, 56,000. There we go. 48. So at that stage, oh, not a late payment. What do we realize now suddenly? Oh, that was still a 2-monthly period. And then we went over into a monthly period when the business grew. And now we go and say 101. Perfect. Let's just add those two together. 46. There was the payment, 46. So now we can reconcile it very quickly. Let's go there, 51. And let's just scroll to the right here. Here we go, 70. That's still zero. I'm just checking this balance the whole time. Right, next one. 317, 317, great. Okay, and here we started going monthly. So that's 29, 804, 804, 1.4, 1.4, 23. All right, here's something definitely. Oh, that was because it's a debit. So it was only received in the next month, but it was received as a net. There we go. It's still zero, zero, zero. And here is something strange. There you can see 789. There we go. That's 2,000 Rand. And there pops out my difference. Check here. Only 302,000 Rand worth of difference, meaning that I actually overpaid by 2,000 Rand across this whole period. Okay. And then I can see, okay, so my latest one that I need to submit now will be this 302,000 Rand, which obviously is that total balance I can now submit, and I'm perfectly reconciled. So no problem over here. And you can see how fast you can actually do that recon. I'm just going to pop back here. By the way, MyVAT's built in Excel, so it's very easy, and most guys have access to Excel. It's at this stage compatible from Excel 2016. So yeah, if you ever wondered. Some other reports in here to help you is this one I really love. This gives you an overview of your customers, or all your entities, actually, your customers and your suppliers, telling you what you actually did. You raised against the customers gross, and you pay or you purchased from your creditors also gross, and then net how much you actually processed after VAT and how much VAT was then either raised if it was debtors or claimed for creditors. And you can see, you always see these kind of tendencies where you go, okay, great. Yeah, this guy is a salary control account. No VAT should be claimed against this. So I'm happy with that. And the rest of the guys had 15% all over. That was a strange one, 12.5%. I can quickly go and think about it. Utilities, yes, utilities you can't claim every single line item there. And if you open this, it'll even tell you what VAT type you use. So they use the zero VAT type on 39,000 of it. 178, you used a tax type 15. Okay. Right. So, and obviously this is all linked to calendars as well. So you can go and check how did I actually claim and raise VAT per month. All right. So I think that's what I just wanted to showcase to you guys, how easy you can take those ZContras and get control of them, and obviously make sure that you can have a nice VAT recon across a period, do a reasonability, but do a detailed up to transaction level reasonability. All right, guys, I hope that helps. Have a great one. Bye.